Good evening. Bulgarian head of state Peter Mladenov has declared free elections will be held by June 1990 and an end will be made with the Communist Party's automatic right to rule.
The Bulgarian Communist Party Central Committee held a meeting today where Mladenov proposed that the National Assembly organize new free democratic elections by the end of May next year. He also pointed out that the party's leading role in society was being scrapped. The spokesman of the Communist Party told the news conference today that the party's monopoly on power would end and a new constitution drawn up by the end of 1990. Meanwhile, 19 independent groups in the country held a mass rally yesterday, displaying what observers call the largest public show of skepticism about Mladenov's promises of radical reforms in Bulgaria. Those who turned out on Sunday expressed support for the opposition and shouted Mladenov's moves of openness and his commitment to reform movements were not enough.
Chancellor Helmut Kohl of the Federal Republic of Germany has said the plan for the reunification of the two Germanys does not entail a confederation.
Kohl has said further he is not planning to form a Germany which will constitute a superpower in Central Europe. Chancellor Kohl has drawn attention to the two Germanys being members in two different military pacts, pointing out their reunification can take place in the course of time and within the framework of the peace process in Europe. Meanwhile, the allies of the Second World War have come together after an interval of 18 years to discuss Berlin's role in the future. The ambassadors to the Federal Republic of Germany, of the United States, France and Britain, and the Soviet's ambassador to East Germany have attended the meeting. A joint declaration has been issued at the end of the meeting, which took place at the Allied headquarters in West Berlin and which lasted 2.5 hours. The declaration says the Soviet Union welcomes the American plan to turn Berlin into an international center in the social platform and expresses the participants' consensus to hold similar meetings in the future as well. The said plan was proposed by the United States under the name of the Berlin Initiative, which foresees Berlin being transformed into a center of social activities on a universal basis. In the meantime, the new leader of East Germany's Communist Party, Gregor Gysi, had a telephone conversation with Soviet leader Gorbachev yesterday, telling him everything necessary would be done to consolidate the party and to have it stand on its feet in a sound manner. He told the Soviet leader this will be materialized by carrying out radical changes in the Communist Party and by the society adopting democracy with all its institutions. Gorbachev said for his part, the problems of the country could not be resolved by outdated approaches.
In Poland, the Lenin monument in Nowa Huta, a suburb of Krakow, has been lifted following protest demonstrations.
The local council announced the monument had been taken away for preservation. Demonstrators in two big rallies during the last 2 weeks wanted to destroy the Lenin monument, which is considered as a symbol of loyalty to the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, the Krakow Culture Commission has closed down all museums and institutions in the city bearing the name Lenin. As another development, talks between the Solidarity-dominated government and the IMF have reached the final stage. Polish Prime Minister Mazowiecki met today the IMF president, who is in Warsaw. If the two sides reach agreement, following the letter of intent to be presented to the IMF, Poland will get $700 million in credit from the IMF.
In Czechoslovakia, opposition leader Václav Havel seems to be the likeliest candidate for presidency after the resignation yesterday of Gustav Husak as president.
Meanwhile, the Czech people have welcomed the formation for the first time since 1948 of the government where non-communists are in the majority. The Citizenship Forum, the biggest opposition group in the country, has decided to nominate Václav Havel as president. The Communist Party is expected to name former Prime Minister Adamec for the presidency. The leader of the 1968 Prague Spring, Alexander Dubček, has in the meantime stated he will accept presidency if he should be nominated. In conformity with the constitution, the new president in Czechoslovakia will be elected within 2 weeks.
Czechoslovakia has started tearing down the barbed wire on its border with Austria.
To start with, the 8-kilometer-long barbed wire in the Bratislava region has been pulled down. Czechoslovakia declared 10 days ago it was going to tear down the barbed wire on its 380-kilometer-long border with Austria.
A delegation from the United States House of Representatives, who is in Ankara by invitation of the Foreign Policy Institute, has begun its contacts.
The delegation visited Defense Minister Safa Giray. The recent developments in Eastern European countries and East-West relations were taken up at the meeting. Safa Giray said at the meeting that acceptance by American Congress of the Armenian bill would considerably damage bilateral relations. The U.S. House of Representatives delegation was later received by Foreign Minister Mesut Yilmaz.
In the Soviet republics of Latvia and Estonia, local elections were held yesterday with the participation of the opposition parties, this for the first time ever.
The opposition party candidates are reportedly in the lead. Local elections are considered as a public referendum where the republic's demands of independence are concerned. The Communist Party candidates in Estonia and Latvia are in favor of remaining in the Soviet Federation, but with more autonomy. The candidates of the opposition, however, are for independence. On the other hand, the Conservatives reportedly criticized Gorbachev's reform program at the Soviet Communist Party Central Committee meeting over the weekend. The Soviet leader said he could resign vis-à-vis the criticisms leveled against him, though sources close to the administration say the majority of the participants at the Central Committee meeting expressed support for Gorbachev and his restructuring movement.
In Yugoslavia, the leader of the Republic of Croatia, Stanko Stojicevic, has called for transition to a multi-party system in the country. Stojicevic said the Yugoslav administration lagged behind in realizing the historic exhaustion of the single-party system. Stanko Stojicevic expressed this view at the Croatian Communist Party Congress in Zagreb. The decision for free parliamentary elections in Croatia to be held next month is expected to receive approval at the Congress. Croatia is the second Yugoslav republic after Slovenia defending the multi-party system. Headlines from tomorrow's Turkish daily news. It only snowed. Labour holds convention. Allied envoys confer over Berlin's future. Gorbachev offered to quit at weekend. Czechs dismantle Iron Curtain. Turkey, Soviet to undertake major joint venture projects. SHB mini-convention ends with compromise statement. Treasury plans to put limits on banks' foreign securities funds. YÖK to discuss dismissed professors, and draft budget proposal discussions to start. And lastly, the weather. The cold and wet front will be effective in the northern and eastern parts in particular. There will be rain in the eastern Mediterranean and in southeast Anatolia, while continued snowfall is expected in the eastern parts of Marmara, in the southern and eastern parts of central Anatolia, in the Black Sea, and in eastern Anatolia. Temperatures will further drop in the northern and eastern sectors. Frost light in the Aegean coastal strip is expected in the northern and inland parts of the country. Snowfall will adversely affect transport in the northern and eastern regions in particular. Lowest temperatures tonight and the highs tomorrow in some provinces will be as follows. Ankara -10, -3. Istanbul 3-2. Izmir -2-7. Adana 8-13. Sinop -3-3. Samsun -3-2. Erzurum -4-0. And Diyarbakır 5-7 degrees Celsius. Weather conditions and highest temperatures tomorrow in some capitals will be as follows.
London, rainy 7 degrees. Brussels, rainy 5 degrees. Frankfurt, rainy 3 degrees. Paris, rainy 4 degrees. Munich, cloudy in patches 2 degrees. Warsaw and Vienna, snowfall -2 degrees. Belgrade, slightly cloudy 1 degree. Girne, rainy 17 degrees. And Riyadh, slightly cloudy 22 degrees Celsius.
And that's all for tonight. Goodbye.